It's 7:03. We are going to call the February 21st, 2023 meeting of the Altadena Town Council to order. First on our call to order is we're going to have Allison Crawford, and she's going to lead us in Lift Every Voice, which is Lift Every Voice is a beloved poem and song penned by Harlem Renaissance writer James Wendell Johnson and set to music by his brother Jay Johnson. It speaks joyfully about the hope and resilience of Black people transcending the enslavement and discrimination of the past and celebrating freedom. Please stand.
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring, ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the glistening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won. Stony the road we trod, bitter the chastening rod, felt in the days when hope unborn had died, yet with a steady beat have not our weary feet come to the place for which our Father sighed. We have come over a way that with tears has been watered. We have come treading our path through the blood of the slaughtered. Out from the gloomy past till now we stand at last, where the white gleam of our bright star is cast. God of our wearies, God of our silent tears, thou who hast brought us thus far on the way, thou who hast by thy might led us into the light, keep us forever in the path we pray. Lest our feet stray from the places, our God, where we met thee. Lest our hearts, drunk with the wine of the world, we forget thee. Shadowed beneath thy hand, may we forever stand true to our God, true to our native land. Thank you.
We have a little gift for you. Allison ran for a seat on the town council, and I said I was going to get her involved. She didn't know how fast. All right, I'll be calling more. Thank you. Always. Thank you. Okay. Okay, we move on our agenda to roll call. Councilmember Wong.
Good evening, council members. Let's do roll call. Victoria Knapp.
Present.
Thank you. Connor Chipola.
Present.
Thank you, Connor. Let's move on to 4602, Nick Arnzen.
Present.
Thank you. Billy Malone.
Present.
Thank you. 460301, Melissa Morona.
Present.
Thank you. Dorothy Wong is here. Let's move on to Chris O'Malley.
I'm here.
Dr. Sandra Thomas.
Excused.
Thank you. Veronica Jones.
Here.
Rod Bryce.
He's late, if he's late.
Yeah, he's getting off the plane.
Thank you.
Got it.
Alan Peck.
He's excused.
Pat Sutherland. Thank you. Doug Cauliflower.
Here.
Thank you. Reggie Wilkins.
Present.
Thank you. Sylvia Vega.
Present.
Thank you, Sylvia. And Diane Markison.
Here.
Did I get everybody? So I think we have three not here, but we have a quorum.
We have a quorum. Okay, thank you, Councilmember Wong. Now we move to approve our February 21st agenda. Councilmember Knapp.
Good evening, fellow council members and community members here and watching online. There are agendas at the back on the table, as well as public comment cards that look like this. This is a reminder that the council welcomes input from the community on both agendized and non-agendized items. If you'd like to make public comment, please fill out the card and give it to a council member at either end of the dais. While the council does not respond to public comment during the meeting, if you would like a response, please make sure to leave your contact information. This process is in place to ensure that everyone wishing to make public comment has the time to do so and that we can conduct this meeting in an orderly fashion. Council members, the Altadena Town Council Executive Committee met on Sunday, February 12th to set the agenda for tonight's meeting. The agenda was circulated to you on Saturday, February 18th. I received no changes. Are there any changes? Hearing none, I move the agenda be approved as presented.
All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Any abstentions? The agenda is moving forward as presented. Thank you. Okay, we move on to item 2, officers report. And the first officer is the chairperson, and that's me. So, and my report will include why February is important to us, and what in February, why we have Black History. February is an opportunity for all of us to engage with Black histories, from going beyond highlighting Black leaders to having discussions of racism, slavery, and the continued struggle for freedom. Understanding our history is a building block for meaningful growth and change for the future. In honor of Black History Month, I want to reflect not only on history, and I asked you to also reflect on history, but also on the power we have collectively as a community to change and transform our world. This month and every month, we honor the ongoing struggle of the Black community across this country and the world. Let us continue the fight to eliminate racism, empower women, promote peace, justice, freedom, and dignity for all people. Black history is American history. It's our history. Let us all seek to appreciate and respect and celebrate how working together will allow us to make our community strong, resilient, against all the forces that work to divide us. That's my Black history part of my report. The second part of my report, I just feel like I would be remiss if I did not mention the people in Turkey and Syria, where over 47,000 people have died because of the earthquake. And today, another earthquake took the lives of 8 more people. Please keep the families of those 40,000 people in your daily prayers, and maybe consider giving a gift to those countries. That concludes my report. Okay, so we're going to move on to the Vice Chair's report. Councilmember Knapp.
In the interest of time, Chair Jones, I'm going to yield my time.
Oh, okay, thank you for that. Yes, we have a full agenda. Okay, we're going to go to our recording secretary, Councilmember Arnzen.
Oh, hello, everybody. The council received the January 17th, 2023 meeting minutes. They were distributed for your approval. I received no changes or corrections. Are there any this evening? Seeing none, I motion that we approve the minutes as distributed.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? The minutes move forward as presented. Thank you, Nick. Okay, now we have a long report from our treasurer.
It's always so long. We have so much stuff. For the statement period starting on January 1st, 2023 and ending on January 31st, 2023, we began with the balance of $2,056.74 in our checking account. We had $228 worth of deposits, thanks primarily to the kind people of Altadena. We had a $16.96 withdrawal for a check order, leaving us ending the period with $2,267.78 in our account. I would remind everybody in the audience and at home that the town council is a volunteer organization that depends upon the grateful and not grateful, what's the word I'm looking for? Wonderful, marvelous residents of Altadena for our budget. So if you would be so kind, if you're sitting in the audience, to throw $1 or $2 in the can as it comes around to it, we would really appreciate it. Thank you very much. Pass it this way, Reggie. He's doing it. He's got it. And while I have the mic, pursuant to Article 4, Section 6F of the Altadena Town Council bylaws, the Executive Committee is required to ask the full council to approve any expenditures exceeding $200. I would like to move that the council approve the appropriation of $300 for food and materials for our annual retreat.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, the motion moves forward. Okay, we're going to move to our corresponding secretary, Dorothy Wong.
Thank you, Chair Jones. Just some quick notes. If you want to find out what events are going on in Altadena, you can send me an email, Dorothy, D-O-R-O-T-H-Y, .wong, W-O-N-G, at altadenatowncouncil.org for any events that you would like to be added to our calendar on our website. Just some quick updates. The Community Wildfire Protection Ordinance is going to public hearing, and it has been moved to June 4th. So if you'd like to learn more about that, the Climate Action Ordinance, Protection Ordinance, is also tied in with our protection plan. And that is an element of the general plan for the County of Los Angeles. And I'll have that posted on the website. Also, in the room here, we have Ranger Jamal Butler with the U.S. Forest Service. Raise your hand. Is he not here? Back there in the corner. Oh, there you are. I'm sorry. And maybe he'll introduce himself, time permitting, at our general comments, but he wanted me to share, and I'll put this on the website, there is a lot of hiring going on, and if you want to learn more, check that out on our website. Also, I received a couple of comments. One is from Cha-Cha for Clean Air, neighborhood group, wanting to let everybody know that there's a family event Thursday, February 23rd from 8 to 12 noon in the parking lot behind Glendale City Hall. The free event is a chance for families and gardeners to learn about the California Core Voucher incentives for landscapers and gardeners to purchase electrical gardening equipment. And then our Safe Streets meeting, since I'm not going to have a committee report, will be Thursday, February 23rd at 7 o'clock, and you can sign up on our town council website under committee Safe Streets. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, and I just want to add to your report, I received a letter from the Union Station thanking us for over 200 pounds of canned goods that we collected at Christmas. So I'll share that letter, but that did come in. Okay, we move right along here. We're going to public safety, and we have our California Highway Patrol. Officer Keller? Bay. Officer Bay.
Officer Bay this evening.
Okay.
Good evening, council members, members of the public. I'm Officer Brian Bay with the California Highway Patrol, and I'll be providing our January traffic crash statistics this evening. The California Highway Patrol investigated a total of 16 traffic collisions in the month of January. 4 of those traffic collisions were hit and runs. Out of those 16, 4 were hit and runs. 4 other traffic collisions resulted in injuries. One traffic collision was a vehicle versus bicyclists. And one other traffic collision was investigated with drugs or alcohol as a factor. And the rest, the other 7, were property damage only. I'd also like to provide our public safety kind of tip for January. We have a lot of precipitation and wet weather our previous month, as well as upcoming this week. So please kind of keep in mind that if you're going to be walking outside, please be mindful that there's going to be vehicles that may not have as much traction as they normally would be. Check your tire tread, as well as if you're going into a hydroplane, try and steer out of whatever direction your vehicle is moving, and please do not hit the brakes, because that does not end well for anybody. This past week, last week, the California Highway Patrol out of the Altadena office conducted a commercial enforcement period where we monitored traffic pertaining to commercial vehicles along the I-210 corridor. This corridor has been heavily used by commercial vehicles for transportation as well as other uses. So I do not have the statistics regarding that traffic enforcement, but it was a very big success. We added a third cops officer to our group who's in attendance this evening, so I wanted to mention that, as well as our steadily enforcement of the Altadena Drive. We've received numerous traffic complaints within that area. So myself, Officer Keller, and Officer Richards have been out there enforcing speed laws. And I've also noticed at the intersection of Midwick and Altadena Drive is where a lot of hikers tend to cross in order to reach the trailhead. So please keep in mind your speeds around that area, because you may be talking to myself or Officer Keller. As well as I just wanted to mention the California Highway Patrol Altadena office assisted in the parade last weekend. It was a great event. It was a successful event, and we were very blessed and happy to be a part of that. That concludes my presentation. Are there any questions?
Officer, I'm still curious for feedback on the Edward Bronstein death. If you can give us an update or send us something, I would appreciate that.
Right now, I don't know anything more regarding the investigation, unfortunately. If there's anything else, I can definitely share that with the council members at
Thanks.
this time.
Go ahead, Pat.
Virginia's email out to us today mentioned a child that was hit on Woodbury and Fisk.
Correct.
Which is my census tract, and
Okay.
that is a corner with a with crosswalk too.
Correct.
I'm wondering if the incident happened in the crosswalk or what. I'm also asking because I was talking with one of the neighbors actually pretty on that street, and he was talking about an accident that doesn't sound like it was this one, and I wondered if it was an extra one. And I think he was talking about an adult in about the same area that had stepped out behind a vehicle,
Parked vehicle?
and was hit. Yeah.
Okay.
So are those two different things, and maybe the other one hasn't been charted?
I don't know too much about the adult versus maybe a vehicle. I haven't had any statistics for February. I do know about the child versus vehicle that was in a crosswalk. I was on scene with that. But to my knowledge, the child sustained major injuries, but nothing pertaining to the head or any other trauma at that time. And there was a crosswalk involved in another vehicle and a parked vehicle as well. So it's still an investigation. I really can't speak too much to the details regarding that. I can't disclose a whole lot, but that's as much as I can right at this time, of course.
Hi, officer. I just want to make sure that you got my message about the speed trailer malfunctioning.
Yes. So I am aware that that part of the display is not illuminating correctly. So we'll kind of take that out of deployment. We'll get that with the Department of Public Works and see what magic that they can help us out with. I will say our previous trailers are kind of susceptible to the elements, unfortunately. So I want to make sure that those are still functioning, especially when we hit all these atmospheric rivers, as they like to call it.
And there was a lot of concern from our community on Fair Oaks, so just putting that out there, speed-wise, north
Understood.
of Altadena Drive. Thank you.
Of course.
Did you want to bring up your partner that's here so we can see?
That would be great if Officer Richard, if we have time, Chair Jones.
I mean, just for a second. Yeah, sure.
Come on up.
Come on up. He's new.
Are you popping beers?
He's not used to the spotlight like I am.
I think I need something a little strong.
So this is Officer Richards. He's been a part of the California Highway Patrol for over 10 years. He brings a lot of wealth of knowledge as well as humility and everything else to the role. He interviewed for this position just like we all have, and he got the top spot. So he's been out there. He's actually been at a couple of the elementary schools, especially Altadena Elementary. You might see him. He might be in a white car. He may not be in a white car, but if you see him, just wave hi. He's very personable.
Okay. All right. Okay.
I have a general question, and this has been something that's frustrated the council along the way. Is there a reason that the preliminary reports on accidents, vehicle versus pedestrian, vehicle versus bike, especially where a fatality is involved, that the preliminary report takes months for us to see any detail?
All right. So regarding that, what I can comment is that whenever a fatality or major injury is involved, it's something that the California Highway Patrol doesn't take lightly. We want to make sure we investigate to the best of our ability. That means we have to do more investigative research than just your normal traffic crash with property damage only. So if there's multiple fatalities or there's multiple witnesses, sometimes an officer has to take time in order to respond or go out and conduct interviews for any kind of witness or anything else that may be part of the investigation. That's why it takes so much time. And sometimes our number comes up as unlisted, so people don't want to, get our calls, so we have to call them back. There's some minutia with everything, but I understand frustration, especially if you're a family member. But as myself, I've investigated fatal crashes. It just takes time, and we want to make sure that we do our due diligence.
Is there a average time frame that we should expect it? Like, I mean, we're still awaiting. I talked to Public Works today.
Okay.
Public Works is going to be presenting to us tonight on their investigative update as it relates to the 2 fatalities that occurred in December. I don't understand how they're going to be able to provide reports back to us or to the Board of Supervisors if they don't have preliminary reports on the accidents that occurred back in December. And I know that when we were meeting at Holliston and Altadena Drive, I couldn't even get information as to where the location of the accident. Was it west of Holliston? Was it east of Holliston? Was it on the south side of Mendocino? So I'm just trying to set some expectation that we should expect. Is it 90 days, 6 months, maybe even?
The best.
Or don't talk to you for a year?
I wouldn't say that. I would just say it's something that we still,
It's
when
fluid?
it's under investigation,
Okay.
there's many elements to every, we're still maybe getting more camera footage from other areas. It's something that if I'm not investigating, I don't know the exact detail, but it's something that we can kind of maybe talk offline about.
Okay, thank you.
Any other
Okay.
questions?
Anything else?
I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Yes, welcome. Welcome. Oh, we can't, we don't address that here right now.
Public comment.
You
It'll be
can,
during public comment.
yeah, you can fill out a public comment card.
On the table just behind you, if you'd like to ask a question or make a comment, please fill out a card and we'll call you up in a bit.
Okay. All right, can we have Altadena Sheriff Station, Captain Jabari Williams?
Good evening. First, I'd like to start off with, it's nice to see a memorial in front of Triangle Park dedicated to Madeline Barber. It's very nice to see every day I come into work, and it's a beautiful honor, so I just want to start off with that. Real quick, crime stats. Our crime stats for January went down significantly compared to last January. Our aggravated assaults and violent crimes went down 18%, and our property crimes actually went down 42% compared to last January. And I think a lot of that has to do with the Board of Supervisors and giving us resources just to deal specifically with property crimes. So we like to thank them for that. We did see a slight increase leading into February, but it's not that significant. I don't have the exact numbers. Our big thing was catalytic converter thefts, and that went down significantly compared to last month. So we're going to try to continue that with the manpower that we do have. And then I'd like to talk about the incident from January 22nd. We get a call for service of someone attacking people randomly at Fair Oaks and Woodbury. The deputies responded and made contact with a Mr. Charles Towns, 47 years old. They moved to El Sereno, and that's where a deputy-involved shooting occurred. As a result of that deputy-involved shooting, Mr. Towns is deceased. The Department of Justice has assumed control of the investigation. That's pursuant to a Assembly Bill 1506, where if at any point they believe someone is unarmed at the time of the shooting that leads to a death, they will take over the investigation. That is the California Department of Justice. As of right now, we don't have a timeline on when they're going to complete their investigation. At this point, I believe they're actively investigating about 30 or so different shootings statewide. and I believe only 2 has been completed up to this point. This is a new assembly, a bill started probably about 2 years ago, and it is something new, so they're probably not as quick to investigate things at this point, but they're going to take their time. And until that investigation is done, again, like I said, the Sheriff's Department is out of the investigation. Once that investigation is complete, based on what the findings are of that investigation and what the Department of Justice decides to do, only then will the Sheriff's Department conduct their administrative investigation. And during this administrative investigation, they'll look at things like policy and procedures that may have been violated, tactics. They'll go everything to see if the person was wearing the right uniform. And then they'll determine whether or not, if any, discipline will be handed down to the participants. There are 2 primary deputies involved in the shooting. And at this point, they are not in the field. They are not working out in the field at this point. However, they are still employed with the Sheriff's Department. The department did release a critical incident briefing, and in that briefing, there is a video of the incident. They do this for every deputy involved shooting. They've been doing it for the past 2 or 3 years. There was some misinformation out there, and I believe the department wanted to make sure that the correct information did get put out. That's all I have on that issue, and that's all I have to present to the council.
Okay, I want to say something from the town council, just on the incident. So the deputy involved shooting in Altadena on January 22nd claimed the life of Charles Towns. The Altadena Town Council acknowledges that, and once again, a marginalized group has been traumatized by this incident. Violence has no place in Altadena. Public trust is paramount to any relationship with law enforcement, and this incident has shaken the community. We are disturbed by what we saw in the body cam and surveillance videos. The Department of Justice is investigating, and while we must await the results of their investigation, it is a priority that the community is apprised of the findings as soon as they are made available. No matter the results, events like this forever change a community. We hope that in the future, there are actions and conversations involving solutions that will prevent this from ever happening again in our community. So that's the statement from the town council on the incident. So I was going to say, I think that you had agreed that if people wanted to talk to you directly, you would talk to them outside of the meeting?
Yes, I didn't want to disrupt the meeting. I understand there may be some questions. There's some things I can't talk about, but I'll answer any questions as best as I can.
I appreciate that.
I understand there's a public comment section.
That's at the end.
But maybe we can do this before and then get them back for the public comment section.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Again, I forgot to mention that the Department of Justice, according to the laws, has to publish the findings. Whatever they find, they have to publish it on their website.
Okay. If anybody has questions for the captain, if they'd like to talk to him directly, Liliana at the front desk knows, and she will let you in the conference room.
Okay. I don't know the size of the conference room, so we'll probably have to limit it to a certain amount of people.
Okay.
Sorry, real quick question, just a procedural thing, because I'm curious. When the Department of Justice finishes its investigation, let's say it does find some wrongdoing on the Sheriff Department's part.
Yes.
You said that after they're done with their investigation, then you launch your own administrative investigation.
Yes, the Sheriff's Department. Yeah.
Are you in any way bound by the findings of the Department of Justice?
No, I don't think so. When they publish their findings, they do make recommendations to the department, and it's up to the department to, there's a commander, a panel of commanders that determine the discipline, and that included in that panel is a group of lawyers, county counsel, Office of Inspector General, and they'll make a determination or decision on how the matter should be dealt with.
Thank you.
Again, if it's, the Department of Justice finds something criminally wrong, then they will present it to probably the District Attorney of Los Angeles County, and they'll determine how they will proceed from there.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And I just want to let everybody know, I did talk to the supervisor's office today, and we are working on having Sheriff Luna come here. So she's helping me with that. Okay?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to LA County Fire. Yeah.
I just want to be sure, are we just supposed to put our public comments in this? No, bring them to the end of the table, pass them up.
Thank you, Connor.
Okay, LA County, Maria Grecken. Oh, there you are.
I'm right here, yes. Good evening, council, members of the public. I'm going to begin tonight with the stats from January. We had a total of 413 responses in Altadena. 319 of those were for medical calls, and of those, we transported 241 patients to hospitals. We had 8 fires throughout the month, kind of a high number for Altadena, but most of them, there were 3 cooking fires, and those are cooking in the kitchen, so food on the stove type fires. We had 1 tree fire on Harriet Street. We did have 1 illegal outdoor warming or cooking fire on Mountain View. And then we had a chimney fire on Mariposa Street. We also had 12 instances of either power lines down or arcing wires throughout the month. We had 10 traffic collisions. Our safety tip of the month has to do with carbon monoxide, since it's very, very cold and a lot of people use heaters and all of that. Carbon monoxide is known as the silent killer because it is odorless, tasteless gas that cannot be seen. CO poisoning can result from faulty furnaces or other heating appliances, clothes dryers, or cars left running in the garage. Some symptoms of CO poisoning include headaches, nausea, and drowsiness, and exposure to undetected high levels of CO can be fatal. So to avoid CO poisoning, ensure that all fuel-burning vented equipment is vented to the outside, and that does include your clothes dryer. That should always be vented to the outside. Keep the venting for exhaust clear and unblocked, and do not leave your car running in the garage, even if the garage doors are open. So that is the extent of the report. I do have one other thing to add, but are there any questions about the report itself?
It seems very high for this month.
The calls?
Yes.
They were only slightly higher than January of last year. So in January of last year, we had 396 calls, and this month, 413. What was a little bit higher than normal is the number of fires that we had. So that was, but in all of that, $0 loss. So there was no damage from any of those fires. So they were very, very contained.
The one in Mariposa, though? That was a gutted home, wasn't it?
Huh?
Oh, I'm sorry, that was probably just, that wasn't Mariposa, it was just this last week or two. You'll talk about it next month.
Next month, yeah. Yes, that, you're not going to see 0 damages next month.
Yeah.
Okay, the other thing that I wanted, and I do have with me Deputy Forester Alex Villalta, just in case there's questions that I'm not able to answer. Beginning on May 1st, our department will be conducting our annual brush inspections. There may be people here who have historically received letters from us around the beginning of February every year that we will be doing our brush inspections. But there may be some people in Altadena who received that letter this year for the very first time. We have been conducting brush inspections in Altadena in the very high fire hazard severity zone for years and years and years. We, in the past couple of years, acquired better geomapping software that allowed us to pinpoint exactly every home that sits in the very high fire hazard severity zone to ensure that all of those homes are included, because they all need to get inspected every year, and that's part of the California Public Resources Code 4291 that stipulates that we inspect all homes that are in the high fire hazard area. So prior to that, and prior to having that software that pinpoints them, we conducted inspections, but it was mostly based on fire history and visual identification that firefighters did to determine which homes needed to be inspected. So to give you some numbers, up until 2021, the number of homes in the Altadena, and this does also incorporate the unincorporated Pasadena area. So it's fire stations 11, 12, and 66. Between those three fire stations, up until 2021, they conducted brush inspections in that area on approximately 1,000 homes annually. Last year is when we first started implementing that software, and it was just step one. So the total number of inspections last year went to about 1,400. This year, we have now, it's all encompassing. So this year, every single family home has been accounted for that's in the very high fire hazard area, and it increases the number of inspections that we need to do to 2,600. So there has been a dramatic increase. Throughout the county, throughout our county area, we've actually seen an increase of about 60,000 parcels that we need to inspect throughout the county. And I can tell you that almost 20,000 of those are in Santa Clarita alone. So your increase is very small compared to a lot of other areas. So for folks who received that notice for the first time, they might have gotten a little bit worried or scared that they were doing something wrong, and we apologize for that. You're not doing anything wrong. It's just that we're going to be inspecting those properties. The California Health and Safety Code also provides that our department can charge for those inspections. So up through, for many, many years through 2021, we've never charged for those inspections because the jurisdictional stations have just gone out and they've conducted those inspections, and they've been very manageable. So we opted not to charge for inspections. With the increase that we saw last year and the significant increase that we see this year, we're no longer able to do that. We are going to have to put together task forces and strike teams to be able to accomplish the number of inspections this year throughout the county that we cannot do with just our on-duty personnel alone anymore. Even in Altadena, we can't manage that anymore. So working with the Board of Supervisors, we agreed with them that we would phase in the fee for these inspections. So last year was the first year that we charged for these inspections, and it was a $50 fee. This year, the fee is $100. And then next year, it will reach the maximum that's set by the code, which is $151. So those fees will be added to the property tax bill. So last year's $50 fee, if you got an inspection last year, will be added to this year's November property tax bill. This year's fee will be added to next year's property tax bill, and so it's kind of a year behind in adding it to the bills. There's also two pieces of legislation, state again, that were recently passed in the last couple of years. One is Assembly Bill 3074. So AB 3074 established a new zone, which is called Zone 0, which is the first 5 feet from your structure. And what AB 3074 says is that 5 feet around your structure shall be clear of all flammable materials. We are not enforcing Zone 0 this year. It is not, it still needs to be approved and go through the remainder of the process. They're hoping that that is done by like mid this year or something, and then it becomes enforceable 1 year later. So sometime in 2024, it's projected that Zone 0 will be enforced. But as firefighters go out this year and conduct their inspections, they will use this as an educational period to teach residents about this additional requirement that will be in effect next year. AB 38, Assembly Bill 38, is also called the real estate inspections. That went into effect in July of 2021, and what that says is that anybody who sells a home in the very high fire hazard severity zone, that's for local responsibility areas. In state responsibility areas, it's high and very high zones. That they must show a compliant defensible space inspection or brush inspection before the close of escrow if they're selling their home. So there is a 6-month window. So if you were to get your brush inspection this year and then you sold your house within the next 6 months, your compliant inspection from this year will satisfy that requirement. And you can just produce, when firefighters inspect properties, they will leave something saying you're either compliant or you're not compliant and this is what you have to do to fix it. If it's outside of that 6-month window, then through our website, sellers will be able to, or through their real estate agent, will be able to request an AB 38 real estate inspection. There will be no charge for that inspection. We're not going to double dip people. So if they can't use their recent inspection, they will be able to, I got to turn this off. They'll be able to use that inspection or request a specific real estate inspection at no charge. So that is the crux of the brush inspection program for 2023, unless there's any questions from the council or the public.
Do you have something we could put on our website?
Yeah, the letter.
You can put all, yes, you can use the report that I submitted. You can put that on your website.
Okay.
If you'd like, yeah. I don't have a problem with that.
Okay. All right. Any questions?
Just a comment that person on Craig got one of the notices, and they were asking, am I in a high severity zone? They weren't sure. They worried about the $100. This just came up a couple weeks ago. So it looks like some of the communication isn't reaching everyone, at least in the president's area. But it was resolved through the listserv. So someone knew, and other people didn't know about this new program.
Yeah, so anybody who falls within that zone has received the initial letter that tells them that they are subject to a brush inspection and when that will occur and all of that. If you didn't receive that letter, don't worry about it. You're not in the zone. So.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the problem was the letter came and people were shocked. Remember, we were talking earlier that they
Yeah.
didn't know they were now in the new zone.
Yeah. And it's not that they were now in the new zone. They've always been in the zone. We just haven't been inspecting them. They've always been in the zone.
Because you didn't know what all the houses were.
Correct.
Okay.
But with our new software, now we're able to pinpoint exactly and account for every home that is in that zone. So it's not that we moved people into the zone. They've always been there.
Can they look up and see if they're?
Yes, they can.
They can, on the, where?
I will send you the link
Okay.
to the fire hazard severity zone viewer. Actually, I did send it in the email.
With this?
Yes.
Okay.
I sent you the link to that map. That is a public website, so if you want to capture that link, it's the, I sent it in the body of the email.
Perfect.
So yeah, people can look up that, and it's basically, if people aren't going to be able to see this really well, but like this is Altadena, so it's really the northern edge and the eastern edge. It's really what's facing the forest is where it's mostly concentrated.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks so much. Maria.
Did you want to add anything?
Oh, yeah, he was so quiet back here, I forgot.
Yes.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Alex Vialta. I'm a forester assigned to the Defensible Space Unit. For those of you who have not been part of our program, even if you have, I did bring a defensible space guide, which is just kind of gives you some ideas of what we're looking for. And again, as Maria mentioned, with the 5-foot ember resistance zone, we're still waiting on clarification on that. The Board of Forestry at the state level is clearly defining what that means, and that's why we've decided to educate, say we can expect this, but the clear, this is okay, this is not okay, we're still waiting on clarification on that.
Okay.
All right, that's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Thank you
your
so much.
report. Yeah. Okay, we're going to move right on to our special presentations. Traffic Safety Directive Update.
And it's not Kirk, it's Julian.
Department of Public Works.
It's Matt Dubio.
Matt Dubio.
And Julian, it's Julian Garcia.
Julian Garcia.
Okay.
Oh, we got to move.
Let's go up for a tall guy. It's coming. Oh, okay.
Are you ready, Dorothy, or should we?
It's coming up. 1 second.
We good? Well, while we're pulling that up, thank you to the Town Council for inviting us here tonight, putting us on the agenda to talk about traffic safety in Altadena. My name is Matt Dubiel. I'm a principal engineer with Public Works. I'm joined by my colleague Julian Garcia, who's also with Public Works, and we're here to talk about, like I said, traffic safety in Altadena. Dorothy, if you could. Oh, okay.
Just the forward arrow.
Now, some of the information I'll be presenting tonight will be a repeat for some of you, as this is information that we've provided to some of the council members previously, as well as the Acona meeting and the Safe Streets committee meetings. But there is new information in here, so some of it will be a refresher for some of you, but there is new information in there. So our objectives for tonight are to make you aware of the recent collisions that occurred at the end of 2022, as Officer Bay reported earlier. Also to alert you, if you aren't already aware, that there's a motion that was passed by the Board of Supervisors on January 10th regarding traffic safety in Altadena, and really to provide information on our response back to that board motion, as well as provide some background information on traffic safety efforts in the county as well as in Altadena, and present collision statistics and trends. So to start, many of you may be aware at the end of 2022, there were 2 separate fatal collisions that occurred in Altadena that sadly took the lives of 2 separate people. One was on November 16th, and that was at Fair Oaks Avenue near Marathon Road. And then there was another one just about a month later on December the 15th, 2022 at the intersection of Holliston and Mendocino. In response to these collisions, the Board of Supervisors passed a motion on January 10th and directed Public Works to do a few things. One was to review the potential safety measures to install on roadways where these collisions occurred, specifically on Fair Oaks Avenue, between Loma Alta Drive and Altadena Drive, as well as Holliston Avenue between Altadena Drive and New York Drive. Although not mentioned in the board directive, and therefore you don't see it on your screen here, Public Works also took a look at potential safety measures that could be installed along Mendocino Street between Lake Avenue and Allen Avenue.
We also were asked to review trends of fatal and severe injury collisions in Altadena, and of course engage with you all as the community on the safety needs of these roadways. We are obligated and committed to providing a report back to the board within 45 days of when the board motion was passed, and that actually brings us to this week. So there is a report that is due to the board at the end of this week. Next slide. So again, these are the corridors, just a little bit of a visual for you that I mentioned earlier. We conducted studies on Holliston Avenue, Fair Oaks Avenue, and as I mentioned, as not mentioned in the board report itself, or board motion rather, Mendocino Street. Next slide. But before I get into how Public Works will respond to this particular board motion, I'd like to give a brief overview of the traffic safety initiative that the county has, and that's called Vision Zero. For those of you that aren't familiar, Vision Zero is an international traffic safety initiative to eliminate traffic fatalities and serious injuries. And it's really based upon the ideal that people make mistakes. We're not perfect, right? So, and the transportation system that we have can be designed in such a way and operated in such a way that when those mistakes happen, it doesn't need to result in the loss of life. So in August of 2020, the Board of Supervisors adopted the county's Vision Zero action plan, and this was in response to the trends of fatal and severe injury collisions occurring countywide. Public Works and LA County Public Health are co-leading this initiative at the county. Through the development of the action plan, we wanted to prioritize locations that experience high numbers of fatal and severe injury collisions, and we identified segments of roadway where 3 or more fatal or severe injury collisions occurred on a half-mile segment, and we deemed those as what we call collision concentration corridors. Up on the screen, you'll see a visual of Altadena. We have 3 collision concentration corridors within this community, one on Altadena Drive, one on El Molino, and one on Lake. Overall, we see the highest number of these collisions in other unincorporated communities, such as East Los Angeles, Florence Firestone, Westmount West Athens, and so on. However, Altadena is obviously not immune to these collisions. We are aware of that, and we heard tonight from Officer Bay that that there were some recent collisions that caused some serious injuries. Next slide, please. Over recent years, we've observed a marked increase in fatal and severe injury collisions on county-maintained roadways, and we note that the highest occurred during the first 2 years of the pandemic, and the past year we noticed a leveling off from the previous year. But despite the leveling off, as you can see on the slide here, we still have 105 traffic fatalities occurring in 2021 and again in 2022. The next slide here will show what these numbers look like for Altadena as a community. Altadena experienced similar trends with an upward increase in fatal and severe injury collisions. And historically, there's been 0 or 1 fatal collision each year in Altadena. But as I stated earlier, in 2022, sadly, there were 2 in the last months of 2022. And again, I know Officer Bay had mentioned this earlier. This past Friday, there was a collision that involved a young individual crossing the street at Woodbury near Fisk Avenue with his bicycle, and the pedestrian was struck and it sustained suspected serious injuries. We are in receipt of that preliminary traffic collision report from the CHP. As the officer had indicated, it's still under investigation by the CHP, and we cannot, at this time, release any information regarding the outcome of that investigation. Next slide, please. Oh, I'm sorry. Can you back up? There we go. So on this slide, on the screen, you'll see a map of all the fatal and severe injury collisions throughout Altadena. Red dots are fatal collisions, blue dots are severe injury collisions. The point with this slide is that obviously they are scattered throughout your community, but there are pockets where there's more concentration. Next slide. Further, when we're looking at these types of collisions, there are commonalities. So the highest percentage of fatal and severe injury collisions tend to be in the following collision types, and those are highlighted on the screen: intersection pedestrian, intersection right angles, mid-block fixed objects, and mid-block parked vehicles. So based on this information, there's a variety of things that we can do from a traffic safety standpoint in our toolbox, so to speak, that we can deploy. And to share what Public Works is planning on incorporating specific to the board motion, I'll ask Julian to come on up and share that information.
Thank you, Matt. Excuse me. Good evening. Thank you for having me. Again, my name is Julian Garcia. I'm also with Los Angeles County Public Works, principal engineer there in the Traffic Safety and Mobility Division. You can go to the next slide. Just to kind of frame back the corridors that were looked at as part of the study that was guided by the motion. To address the request from the board to look at this, we conducted field reviews of the corridors in there. As Matt mentioned, 2 corridors identified in the motion, and the 3rd corridor was identified afterwards based on both feedback from the community members as well as the result of our investigations going out there and taking a look at those corridors. So we met out there in the field with several community members, members of the board, of the town council, as well as received a lot of input via phone and email from community members. And we welcome that feedback to continue as we continue to engage with the community to continue to address these ongoing issues. So next slide. As Matt mentioned before, there were certain patterns that we saw in these collisions: pedestrian at intersection, mid-block parked vehicle, and through that, it started to kind of become clear that one of our priorities that we wanted to focus on in getting recommendations in place was to create a better delineation of separation between the travel lanes and the non-traveled areas of the road, such as parking lanes or shoulders, to make sure that vehicles were fully aware through their entire traversing of our roads where they should remain, to make sure that we created that separation between other modes of transportation, whether it be pedestrians or bicycles, as well as parked vehicles, to make sure that vehicles weren't veering away from the travel lane, potentially into a parked vehicle. In some of the corridors, we see that parking can be sporadic, so you make a turn, don't quite realize there's a vehicle parked there, so that delineation would certainly help. So we are proposing along these 3 corridors to put in place, we're looking at edge line striping throughout the corridors, and that is the white paint that you'll see on the ends there. We're proposing to put in enhanced center line striping with reflective markers. And those roads that are wide enough to have a center line, we wanted to make sure that we add reflective markers along the center line as well, so that there is better visibility in the dark, better visibility during rain events as well, to make sure, as well as tactile feedback that those provide. If you're driving and start to veer, you're gonna get that tactile feedback from your vehicle that you're crossing an area that you should not be crossing into. That's the enhanced center line striping. Edge line striping between travel lanes and parking lanes or shoulder areas. That is to make sure that, again, vehicles are guided towards the center of the road, to make sure that there is room in the sides and the shoulders for people exiting their vehicles, any bicyclists that might be in there, and pedestrians as well, wherever needed. We did also realize that it was very important to keep that edge line striping and wrap it around turns or corners. That's the bottom line there. The enhanced edge line striping with reflective markers around intersections, and that is to make sure that vehicles remain within that lane rather than start turning closer and closer to the curb areas. So we can make sure that they take, first of all, slow down to take a sharper turn, make sure that they are not, if there's somebody waiting to cross or beginning to cross, provide that additional visibility and protection for those folks as well. We mentioned in the stats there was a high number of pedestrians at intersections. So we're going back to all these corridors and making sure that there are high visibility crosswalk treatments at all stop controlled intersections. A lot of intersections have the old stop signs, stop pavement markings, and the stop line. So those will all be upgraded to high visibility pedestrian crosswalk, which you can see in the diagram there as well. And enhanced reflective treatments and stop signs and warning signs, and that is to make sure that there is a high level of reflectivity in all signs so they're more visible. So these are the treatments that we're putting throughout the quarter, like quarter wide. We're gonna go into these 3 corridors and make those improvements as well. So while there is some depictions there of what those look like in general terms, we are applying them to the specific situations, preparing the actual striping plans for those corridors, and we'll be continuing to share that with the community, as there might be some impacts to parking, for instance. There might be some loss of parking spaces at intersections. We create that hashed area to make sure that a vehicle can turn and not be surprised by a vehicle that's parked there, to make sure that there's proper visibility for what's happening farther down the road as well. So that will potentially have some impacts at some intersections. But we're also going to take a look at all the red curbs. We did find that there was a lot of dated red curbs in some areas where there used to be maybe a bus line that is no longer in service, but the red curb remains. So if we're going to take a look at all the parking situations along there, then we can maybe balance out some of the loss of parking at intersections by reclaiming those areas that had a red curb that may no longer be needed at those locations. And all of this striping can be enhanced with pavement markers, as I mentioned, reflective surfaces that will, especially as you come closer to the intersections, to make sure that the vehicles know there's an intersection coming in. Again, provides that added visual cue, and again, that tactile reminder that if you're taking a turn too wide or too fast, you're gonna have that rumble strip feel to kind of force you to slow down or take the turn at a different speed. I realize it's not quite as visible as well in that image, but one of the things too is to carry that center line. Usually the center line will stop behind the crosswalk to put in some kind of markers on the other side of the crosswalk. So when you're making that left turn, you know where to aim to, that you're not encroaching into the opposing lane, but to make that turn go full into your lane as you're coming in. So that usually is going to be either a cluster of reflective markers, or sometimes it could even be a delineator or some kind of like taller structure that can be seen. I think you've seen them in some places. We have these low down signs that come in with a delineator that is put in the middle of the lane. So we can have some of those, as well as other less intrusive methods as well. And again, these are the general treatments that will be applied. They're gonna look differently in each intersection, and that's what we're in the process of doing right now, is to applying these to the actual field conditions of each location in place. So we're laying out the plans, and we'll go back to the community to let them know exactly what their street's going to look like when these treatments are implemented. And there are a couple locations where the treatments will have to be a little different, so we can go to the next slide. For example, this lovely mess of an intersection at Fair Oaks and Loma Alta. We realized, looking at there, meeting with some of the folks that live around there, and listening that that is going to have to be reconfigured entirely. That is going to have to be looked at to try to reduce the number of conflicting movements that could happen in there, make sure that there's a clear path for pedestrians to cross the street. We ideally would like to reroute it so that there is a 4-point intersection rather than a 5-point intersection happening. So maybe reroute one road to connect with the other one beforehand. So you'll see that one will take probably a little bit longer. We're gonna be moving forward as quickly as we can with the quarter-wide improvements, but things like this intersection is going to require a little bit more engagement, a little bit more time to develop the alternatives and implementation of those alternatives as well. Next slide. At the other end of Fair Oaks, in that corridor, we have Fair Oaks at Altadena Drive, where we also have a kind of complicated intersection there with the frontage road. So we'll be looking at redoing that intersection as well and upgrading the signal equipment. So again, these are the projects that will probably take a little bit longer lead time in the preparation of plans and preparation of solutions. So you'll see us going through a phased approach where we'll start tackling the paint and pavement first to make sure that we can address those items as quickly as possible. But if you don't see quite the results Right away on these, please know that we are looking at these intersections as well. Some of these are more complicated, so we'll phase them out and make sure that there's progress being made while we still have the time to really devote and focus on some solutions for intersections such as this one. So what are the next steps? The first is finalize those recommendations for traffic safety improvements based on the feedback received. I know that the report, as Matt mentioned, is due this week, so we'll be submitting a written report. That doesn't mean that we're no longer taking comments or feedback from the community. That process is going to continue on and be ongoing. So the recommendations will be finalized, at least for the plans of what we're planning to do. We expect to have some of those more fully fledged plans out developed within the next few weeks, so then we can come in and really show you what it looks like in context of the intersection in question. We'll continue to receive and incorporate feedback from the community. They put an email address there, and we will continue to update the town council and the Altadena community at large through various focus meetings out in the areas that we're looking at, as well as coming out here to the town council, meeting with ACONA to present those updates. And we'll open up for questions from the community or from the town council.
The serious incident and fatality chart you had, did you do a correlation between speed and severity of accidents or number of accidents? That's a nice chart that showed, the blue and the red. But I don't know about any correlations with speed. Because I know Lake, you're blazing down Lake even if you don't want to, right?
Yeah, I can tell you that across to LA County, the number one primary collision factor is speed, 100%. And so we know that anything that we do has to be aimed at slowing people down. If we end up slowing people down, we can hopefully save lives.
And I think part of the approach is trying to narrow those intersections, trying to give that visually narrowed feeling to vehicles so that they can slow down from having the wide open streets. Even though the street doesn't look that wide, but if there's no parking intersection, 30 feet can look pretty wide. If we can visually give you a cue that that is not 30 feet of travel lane, that's more closer to 20 or 21 feet, that has been shown to have an impact in slowing down traffic.
Any more questions?
Julie, was
Connor?
there discussion of adding crosswalks on Altadena, Paulston, or Midway, that Dr. Bay mentioned?
So right now we're going, because we noticed there was a lack of crosswalks that stopped control intersections, so that's the low-hanging fruit where those are all going to be upgraded, where there is a stop sign already, but not a fully continental crosswalk, the striped crosswalks. So that's the low-hanging fruit that we'll go for first. We'll continue evaluations to see if any uncontrolled crosswalks. We have concerns about uncontrolled crosswalks, as we're really relying on driver behavior at that point to make sure that they are yielding to pedestrians, making sure that, so we want to make sure that it's the right conditions. So that will be the next step, is to see if there's supplemental crosswalks that need to be added beyond what the stop controls currently exist.
First off, I'd like to say the bald head, glasses, beard look is really working for you. It's a good look. So your Vision Zero slowdown signs that mark my neighborhood anyway, especially down in my census tract and right around there, I've noticed that a lot of residents have been locked in a continuing war with people that don't like them. And as far as I can see, they stop their car, get out, and rip them off the posts. You already have a response. I was wondering, is there any plan to make those things more durable or permanent?
Yes, the short answer is yes. So we're looking into various options of what we could do. We knew from the very beginning, well, first let me back up. That particular program was as a result of the pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic, the onset of it. We had to roll something out quickly to make sure that people slow down in the area to allow for social distancing and whatnot. With increased people walking and being home, that was something that we were taking a look at. Now, since we're 2.5 years later, like you mentioned, there is a lot of people out there that may not want the signs. But we knew from the beginning that this was not going to be a sustainable program in the way that it was formed and the materials that we were using. So we are in the process of coming up with more of a permanent program, and that permanent program may not even involve signs in the middle of the road. It may involve some other type of traffic calming, quick build improvement, as we call them, that we can roll out quickly and would allow for additional community engagement to inform where those go. In the beginning with the slow street signs, we wanted to basically blanket any area of where a sponsor or an applicant came in with. And so we put it upon the sponsor to do that community outreach for us so that we could get those signs out as quickly as possible. But recognizing that there are signs out there that have that are broken or sawed off, we've seen, please let us know. Email us or give us a call. Our information was on the screen, but if you know of any, please talk to me after the meeting, and we will take care of it.
All right, thank you.
Okay, we really need to move along. Dorothy?
Yeah, so just while you're at the mic, this could be a great opportunity to take the Vision Zero next step, whatever we want to call it, to maybe do like a demonstration project, an open street type of event to get people thinking, and instead of putting something in and going, oh, we don't like it. It seems like it's a great opportunity with the traffic safety in Altadena
Right.
to be using the Vision Zero Part 2 to help us really think about.
Yeah, and I honestly think that all of the items that Julian presented, such as the painted curb extensions and the other items, that in itself will be a demonstration project. So once that is installed, we can point people to that location and say, what do you think? Would you like to see this over in your neck of the woods?
Thank you. And then a quick question just for Julian.
We're going to have to really move it on.
This is just really quick. We have an issue with ADA compliance at Fair Oaks and Altadena Drive. And let's throw out that Altadena Drive in general, west of Lake, has about 70% of our injury collisions along Altadena Drive. So I'm just throwing that out there because when you don't say it, it's not going to happen.
And you can answer her online or at another time.
But I just want to say at that, are you going to be doing anything to help with ADA compliance at Fair Oaks, going up to at least Palm, where we have the children mixing with people trying to get on and off of transit? Is that up on the list?
Short answer, yes, and I can elaborate separately for you.
Yes,
on
thank
that.
you. Okay, and thank you, and I don't mean to be rude, but we are, you know, time is really ticking here, and we have, okay, thank you, we appreciate that. That was a good report, good work in a short amount of time. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, we're moving on to our community reports. And we have Parks and Rec. We have Ryan Hicks. Okay, hi, Ryan. Okay.
Did you get my email, Ryan, of this agenda?
Yes.
You did? Okay, great.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. My name is Ryan Hicks. I'm a sports coordinator at Loma Alto Park. Just give you a quick update. First, I want to say thank you to Council Member Veronica Jones for attending the Brownsworth Park Black History Month event that we had. Our sports program, we are finishing up our basketball program, and we are getting ready to start our t-ball, baseball, softball program. So if you guys have any kids or want to get it out to the schools, let them know that we're at Loma Alto Park. Parks After Dark is coming back. I'm sure you guys heard about our previous events that we did at Loma Alto Park and around LA County. We did the Winter Wonderland, which is a huge success. We had Bowling for Peace involved in our summer Parks After Dark program. So you guys can check out all the highlights on YouTube. Type in Parks After Dark and Bowling for Peace. You see all the highlights. Our event will be on April 6th and April 8th from 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock. And we also will have our Spring Jubilee, which will be held on April 8th at Loma Alta Park. All these events are free. Farnsworth Park will have their Spring Jubilee event on April 6th from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. So if you have any questions, you can feel free to reach out to me or look on the website for any other upcoming events.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you, Ryan. And you're having a boxing tournament also, right? Did you talk about that?
Yes. So we're actually having our boxing tournament at Loma Alta Park starting on Thursday, going till Saturday. So actually, it's, Thursday to Saturday, so you guys can check it out. It goes all the way till 10 p.m. from 6 to 10. So check it out, Loma Alta Park.
Yeah, it's like a national boxing tournament.
Golden Gloves.
Okay, Golden Gloves.
Are there
Okay.
tickets available? Someone was asking if the public can buy tickets, or do you know anything? Not sure. It's through the Golden Glove. Okay.
All right, thank you. Okay, we move right along to 5.2, Library. Nikki Winslow.
All right, good evening, council members, so many members of the public. Nice to see you. My name's Nikki Winslow. I'm the district director for the Altadena Library District, and I see the time is ticking, so I'll be quick tonight. In terms of employment, we're taking applications for adult services library manager. If you know anyone that would be interested in joining our team, please refer them to our website. We're also hiring at least 2 library clerks. This is an entry-level position, 19 hours a week, one to work in our teen services department and the other to actually work events and programs because we offer so many, which I'm about to tell you about. In terms of a redistricting update, we are currently in the process of drawing lines for 5 districts for our 5 trustees. That will take effect for the 2024 election. So we're required to do 4 hearings. We've already completed the first 2. The next one is the big hearing, which will be on March 25th at 10 a.m. At that meeting, we'll be sharing the maps. So if you're interested in seeing how the lines are going to be drawn, I would encourage you to check that out. They will be posted on our website on our redistricting page, which is altadenalibrary.org/redistricting, a week out. So they'll be posted no later than March 18th. And then will be finalized at our Board of Trustees meeting on March 24th. Any questions, again, just check out our website. In terms of our building projects, as you know, we're renovating both libraries in the next few years. We did host 2 town hall meetings last month to gather feedback from the community, both on January 28th and February 1st. Thank you to everyone who participated. We had well over 100 people between Zoom and in person. We also are working on restoring the beautiful mural at the Bob Lucas branch. That's going to be restored to what it currently looked like, or what it looked like in 1999. Excited to share that information. That will be done along with the Bob Lucas project. Lots going on with that, but I'll stop there. There is a website or a webpage on our website called Next Chapter. So if you're interested, we keep that updated with everything that's going on with the 2 library projects. In terms of our technology campaign for the month, we're pushing 3 of our databases that promote AP study guides, classic books, and readers' recommendations. The one that I will highlight is BrainFuse. The one on the right, if you have your Altadena library card, you get access for free. It offers online tutoring for grades 3 through 12. After school hours, I think up to like 10 o'clock at night, and they can tutor all the way up to high school calculus. So if you know of any kids that need live tutoring, you can get access with your library card. We are coming to the tail end of Black History Month. We had a really great slate of programs this month. Tomorrow night, we're actually going to be doing a community book discussion on the book that was chosen, which is The Hate You Give. So if you're interested, please show up at the main library tomorrow night at 6 p.m. And we also will be doing a STEAM Storytime craft at the Bob Lucas branch on Tuesday the 28th at 4 p.m. And we have some beautiful displays at both libraries that I'd encourage you to check out. Our Poets Laureate program are still accepting new poems for their In Synergy website project. Feel free to visit our website if you're interested in submitting poetry. Their next event is going to be taking place Saturday, February 25th from 11 to 1 at the main library. I would also be remiss if I didn't strongly encourage all of you to attend our next Friends of the Library book sale. That's coming up this Sunday, the 26th. That'll be from 10 a.m. to 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Members of the Friends get exclusive access from 10 to 12. If you're not a member, it's only $10 to sign up. We're also continuing to take submissions for our summer reading poster. So we're going to use this contest to generate the poster for our summer reading program. If you know of any interested artists, the deadline is February 28th. And the poster is going to answer, how have books/libraries helped you find your voice? More information on the website. A couple programs to promote, as all of you are probably aware, and if not, you should come. We have our next second Saturday on Saturday, March 11th with the Crown City Bombers. That's at 7 p.m. at the main library. We also have a teen pottery workshop coming up on that same day, Saturday the 11th, from 2 to 4. And that's going to actually be at the Green and Bisque Clay House in Pasadena, as well as a Reptile and Friends program at the Bob Lucas Library on Wednesday the 15th at 4 p.m. And I think I'll stop there. I already promoted those two the last time. Happy to answer any questions you have. All right. 5 minutes, did I do it?
Is there an age for the poet laureate?
Wait, Nikki, question?
Is there an age for the poet laureate? Is that for?
To be the poet laureate?
Yeah.
I believe it's 18 and older, and we do an application process every 2 years. So the two we have now are through next, winter. So the application will be in about a year from now.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you for that report. Okay, we're going to move on to the Chamber of Commerce. Judy Matthews. Judy Matthews is the president. Yeah, I went and got it.
No.
Good evening, Council and the community. Altadena Chamber of Commerce appreciates your support of our community and our organization by participating in community events. This month, Observations in Black, a pictorial celebration of Black History Month, curated by local photographer Alfred Heyman, is on display at Hastings Ranch Branch Library until February the 28th. Register online today at altadenachamber.org to join Altadena Chamber of Commerce in participation with Pasadena Small Business District on February 23rd at 11 a.m. for a webinar on 2023 employment law updates and learn what small businesses need to do to comply with 2023 employment law changes and avoid penalties. The Elliott Twilight Tower Tour is February 24th, 4 to 6 p.m., and the Red Cross Ready Disaster Preparedness Education for older adults is being held at Altadena Library on March 13th, 10:30 a.m. Seating is limited. Save the date now for the Altadena Gill of Huntington Memorial Hospital 70th Home and Garden Tour featuring Rubio Street, the Gem of Altadena, and that's May 7th, 2023. For more information on upcoming events, visit altadenachamber.org. We encourage you to check out our website frequently to stay up to date on chamber events and community events and programs. Thank you for your support, and we look forward to seeing you at the upcoming events. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we move right along to ACAB. Doug Cauliflower.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Just two quick things. On July 12, 2003, this building was dedicated, and consequently, so we are approaching our 20th anniversary, and ACAB will be hosting a open house on July 8th, so please save the date for that. Details forthcoming, but it will be a free event, and it'll be a lot of fun. So we're looking forward to that, and we'll have details shortly. And then just we were aware that the construction outside was going to happen. I didn't realize it was going to happen so quickly. But if you don't already know, they are putting in EV charging stations. There'll be a total of 10 stations that'll be installed. And believe it or not, the construction is slated to be done on March 3rd. So it'll be a short, quick project. So, unless anybody has any questions, that's all I have. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Doug. Okay, we're going to move on to our community reports, and we're going to start out with our land use. Diane Markison, the chair of our land use. Oh, it went out. Oh, land use is one of the most important things that the town council does.
Thank you. The Land Use Committee met last February 7th and took action on one item. We took action to recommend referring it to the Altadena Town Council with recommendation for approval. And so, Dorothy. Oh, we got way more presentations to do. We have two more. Okay, so this is Dorothy's project that she'll be presenting. And Melissa. Okay, so I'm going to turn it over to them.
This is Jesus Casada.
Hi, everyone. I'll try to be quick. I'll try to be concise, and I will follow the screen. My residence is in the Meadows neighborhood. I have a project scheduled, hopefully this year, to be done. We're going to be adding an extra 1,000 square feet to my structure of livable space. I have the plan on the screen. I have setbacks already established by a surveyor. That currently right there is the attached garage that will be connected to the property. The setback there is supposed to be 20. I'm asking for a 2-foot exemption, so I will be at 18 from the setback. A good thing is that my neighbors in the area, their setbacks are at 14, 15, 13 feet. I'm well within the norm of the neighborhood. That is looking down the driveway. On the left side is a 50-some-year-old retaining wall, about 2 feet thick, a good 15, 20 feet high. That wall is actually on my property, so all of those 2 feet of concrete is mine. That's just so you could see from the street. Towards the right middle will be the construction of the attached garage in the grass area. That is from the street looking at the property. As you can see, the difference in level from my north neighbor. Next slide, once again, it is showing same thing as before. That is my neighbor's setback right above mine. His garage is actually much closer than mine, and LA County has said if everything works out well with the council here, I will get the exemption as well. Rear setback. Rear setback also, my neighborhood is up there in age, and the county code is anywhere between 20 to 25 feet rear setback. As you can see, the neighbor setback is roughly 13, 14. I also had to do and get there it is. I had to get an oak tree plan. There are 2 oak trees not on my property, both to the rear on my neighbor's property. Tree B is to the north side of my property. I had to make a map and site plan to show it. Tree A is closer to the south side of my property. Also, that tree is not on my property, but I still needed to do the oak tree report. My construction will not impede or not come anywhere close to touching the trees. The canopy of those trees will be at least 10 to 15 feet away from any of the livable structure that we will be adding to the residence.
And then the rear setback?
The rear setback, I'm asking for an exemption. I would like to have it at 15 feet. On my street, property setbacks vary between 13 and 12 to 15. County code, if I'm not mistaken, is in that 20-foot range. 25, I'm asking for a 10 feet extra to finish the back bedroom, the master bedroom there. But like I said, it's in line with other properties next door to the north and next door to the south are setbacks at 13 and 15 feet.
So then,
We would like to make a motion that I'm sorry, got a little ahead of myself. We've also noticed all of the neighbors, and we were able to get approval from both the north and the south neighbor, as well as one of the neighbors behind them, and there were no oppositions to this project.
So can we have a motion?
I would like to make a motion that in the matter of project 2022-000059, the Altadena Town Council recommends to the LA County Regional Planning Board for approval without conditions, yard modifications of the Altadena Community Standards District for a front yard setback from 20 feet to 18.2 feet and a rear yard setback from 25 feet to 15 feet to be in line with the proposed new two-car garage and one-story addition on the property located at 4410 El Prieto Road.
All those in favor?
Wait, discussion.
Oh,
Aye.
discussion.
Any discussion?
Discussion or questions from anybody? Do we have any public comment on it?
yeah.
We do?
No, do we?
No.
That's a good question to the people. Do you have any public comment on it?
Okay.
We didn't have anybody here,
No.
but did you have public comment that you wanted?
We had like emails.
I had north neighbor, south neighbor, two neighbors across the street. They were all in favor.
Okay.
All in
So
favor?
Okay.
Okay.
Call the question.
Okay. Okay, all those in favor? All those opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, so we move with the motion.
thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
And we need to get that letter out as soon as possible. Okay? Thank you. Okay, so we move along to the EAH Housing 2052, Doug Cauliflower and Reggie Wilkins.
Okay, good evening. I am going to just give a very brief overview of this project, and then I will invite Steven Spielberg, Vice President of Real Estate Development for the developer EAH Housing, to come up and, along with his team, will give a much nicer presentation. The site is currently a medical office complex, currently in operation. Existing structure will be demolished and a new building built for affordable housing. The building will be 4 stories, 57 one-bedroom units, and 1 two-bedroom unit. Although the building exceeds our CSD three-story height maximum, Stephen and his teams are sensitive to our CSD and proactively reached out to ATC Land Use Chair Diane Markison for guidance and input with respect to the building design. Subsequently, meetings were held with the EAH team, Census Tract Representatives Cauliflower Harlow, and Land Use Chair Diane Markison to discuss design options that would be most consistent with the intent of our CSDs prior to submission to LA County Regional Planning for permitting. Please know this presentation is informational only due to current state and county laws for low-income housing. This building is allowed to be built by right. The Altadena Town Council will not be making a formal recommendation to the county for the project. And the project was presented also to land use back on November 1 of 2022. So with all that, Stephen?
Thank you, and thank you for having us tonight. We really appreciate the opportunity to present. I know it's late, so I'm going to try to keep it as brief as possible. I'd like to give just a quick introduction of who I brought with me tonight, a short introduction of our organization, and then I'll turn it over to our architect, who will briefly walk you through the project, and then we'll open it up to the town council for any questions that you might have. So, as Doug mentioned, my name is Steve Spielberg, and I'm VP of Development for EAH Housing in Southern California. With me tonight is Emmanuel Ulloa, our project manager for this project, our Director of Permanent Supportive Housing, Tim Kohler, and our architect, FSY Architects, VAR and VJ Segal, and Gabby Cardenas from Union Station Homeless Services. So, thank you. EAH is a 54-year-old nonprofit affordable housing developer and property manager. Over the last 54 years, we've grown to have developed over 100 properties across all of California and Hawaii, and we currently manage over 13,000 units, which includes all of our own affordable housing as well as those of other owners. We develop affordable housing for all low-income communities, and that includes housing for families, seniors, veterans, formerly homeless, and other special needs population. Thank you. We consider ourselves a full-service nonprofit, and what we mean when we say full service is we do all of our own development, property management, and for our senior and family affordable properties, we do all of the services ourselves. For certain special needs populations, we find it advantageous to partner with local service providers, and for this particular property, we're partnering with Union Station Homeless Services. They are, like us, a 50-year-old nonprofit, mission-driven organization. We feel like it would be a great partnership. They're also very local with a headquarters in Pasadena and office here in Altadena as well. In addition to managing all of our own properties, we've never sold a property in our 54-year history. And so really from initial meetings like Doug was mentioning that we had with himself and Diane and the Land Use Committee, all the way through construction and eventually leasing up the property and ongoing property operations, we really strive to be great neighbors in the community, both as developers, owners, and then ongoing in operations and having our residents become great neighbors. We strive to also provide all the services that our residents need, and that's in all of our properties, whether it's low-income families, seniors, or formerly homeless. All of our properties have services which help the residents really integrate and become part of the community. I think being local, probably most of the folks in this room know where our property is, but it's on Lake Avenue, and if you'll go to the next slide, we've just laid out what services are close by. And as you can see from the distances, there's a lot of things walking distance that our future residents will be able to walk to. And on the next slide, I've got a brief overview of our timeline. As Doug mentioned, we did present to the Land Use Committee recently. Our plan is to apply for low-income housing tax credits in April. It takes a few months for us to find out that we got awarded, and then another 6 months before we can actually start construction. And so that's where you see our construction start would be next January with about a year-and-a-half construction. We didn't say exactly what the shape of the building is that we're going to be developing, so that's why I'm going to turn it over now to our architects at FSY Architects. They'll tell you a little bit about themselves and then walk you through our proposed design. As Doug mentioned, we really did our best to follow your CSD and fit in with the character of the community, so I hope that comes across in the next few slides.
Slide. Hi, I'm Var Jean Movsesian with FSY Architects. I'm joined with my colleagues Vijay and Alan. So we are a architectural firm. We're based in Los Angeles, but myself and Vijay, we actually live in the Pasadena, South Pasadena area, so this project's of importance to us personally as well. Our firm is about 12 people. We have a strong focus on affordable housing and supportive housing, and this is one of many projects that we've had the pleasure of working with EAH on in developing and bringing to fruition. So the building that we're presenting here is, as mentioned, provides 57 units of permanent supportive housing, also provides the required 18 parking stalls on site as well as 35 bicycle parking for residents. And as Steve mentioned in his intro, EAH has a strong interest in being good neighbors over the long term, and the residents also being good neighbors and citizens of the neighborhood as well. So our task as architect and designer is to respond to the character of the community, and we took a lot of references from the Community Standards District in developing the street facade. You'll notice many of the kind of prescriptive items in the standards are incorporated there. So we have the recessed facade at the 50% above the first level. We have recessed windows, decorative iron railings, and recessed Juliet-style balconies. We have a arch colonnade along the front facade. And if we go to the next slide, we can see how that translates into our plan. So along Lake, we've set back the building 10 feet. And so many of our service provisions at the ground floor, which include 4 offices for on-site staff and management to come and meet with residents, are facing the street. So we're giving the more common and public uses towards the street. So it actually is not feeling at the ground level like a home or a residence, but it is contributing to the pedestrian streetscape. You'll also notice that in the rear yard, we've provided all the parking towards the back, so it's not an eyesore from the street, but in order to respect the privacy of the neighbors to the rear, we are also incorporating the 5-foot strip of landscape, which is recommended by the CSD. Most of the units are one-bedroom, all the PSH units are one-bedroom apartments, and they're situated around a central courtyard, which is kind of a nod to the idea of Altadena being this bridge between the city and the foothills and having that stepping stone to nature. So we felt it's important to have that space for residents to meet with each other and share conversations, but also to kind of orient themselves within the community. It also enhances and touches on some of the requirements from LACDA, the LA County Development Authority's NOFA guidelines for architectural design, which also includes this crime prevention through environmental design. So we always have eyes towards the courtyard. There's limited access points to the property. We have well-lit parking area, and there's natural surveillance toward the street. As I mentioned, the offices and community room face the street, so there's always built-in security based on the building design. If we go to the next slide, you can see the front facade and the rear facade. So we kind of saw the front in the rendering. The rear facade, we wanted to show that because facing the eastern neighbors, we wanted to provide the smallest windows possible so our neighbors behind are not feeling like there's people looking in their backyard, but we have given residents their bigger window towards the south where they get more natural light into the units. If you go to the next slide, so this is along, the top image is along the north facade, and the south is showing the courtyard space, and the building building massing on the right actually steps back away from the property line to allow more light and access to open skies for some of our neighbors as well.
So thank you very much, VAR and everyone else for taking the time. That's all the presentation part we have. So if there are questions from the town council, happy to.
Billy does.
I have a question. You might not be able to answer it yet. Regarding what kind of tenants you're looking at moving into this facility. And the reason I'm saying that is because, Altadena is not Pasadena. Pasadena has a homeless issue. We have a housing issue. This is Altadena. So we have a lot of families on the brink that need housing or are close to being homeless. We have a lot of elderly that are aging out that are looking to be able to just maintain their standard of living or a living. And that's kind of what we're facing in Altadena, whereas Pasadena has the homeless. So my question is do you know your demographics of what you're looking for? Because there's a certain demographic here that's going to have to move out, and then we're moving homeless up that weren't here before, even though both need housing. Are you looking at kind of all demographics?
Yeah, I totally understand what you're saying. And, as I mentioned, we develop affordable housing for all different low-income populations. In this particular project, we are focusing on people that are currently experiencing homelessness. And, you know, that's really for several different reasons. One of our goals really is to maximize the number of people that we could help, and this is not a very large site. And also, kind of like it or not, there's county priorities that we really kind of have to fit into their box, and so that's really the direction we got pushed by the county as well.
Yeah, Steve,
Yeah.
I'm not sure everybody knows that the county tells you who
Yeah.
to put in there. So, right, the county tells you who's going to go in there?
Essentially, if we want county funding, we have
Right.
to, yeah.
Yeah. We just have a lot of young, a lot of struggling families that are often forgotten. And, you know, I was just wondering if, anyway, so.
Any other questions from anybody? Okay.
Just real quick. I'm a chatterbox today, and I apologize. I just want to say you've been in front of land use a couple times, and I just want to remind everybody out there that you could just pretty much build whatever you want to build, given the California laws and the county laws. And I just want to testify to the fact that you've been very responsive to feedback. You've changed your architectural approach. You've changed your designs. You've come to us numerous times. And I just want to thank you for being so involved with the community and responsive in that way.
Thank you. We appreciate that, and we know that there was another affordable project before us, and we didn't want to make the same mistakes they did. So, you know, we've really tried to be proactive and reach out.
Appreciate it. Yeah, we really, really do appreciate it. And yes, Chris is right, that this is a by right project that as long as they're meeting code, they could build whatever they wanted. So we really appreciate the partnering. Thanks.
Well,
Okay.
as I mentioned in our presentation, we are long-term owners, and we want to be, we want to fit into the community. So, you know, we want to be welcomed when we eventually come.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for your time.
Appreciate you.
We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. Okay, we move on to 6.3, Communication Committee. Nick Arzen.
All right, I'll try to talk really fast. Let's get moving. The Communication Committee met in January to discuss and identify potential goals for 2023. We'll continue to clarify these, and always before taking action, we will consult with and seek approval from the Executive Committee, and if necessary, the full council, keeping them aware of our progress and next steps. I just want everybody to know the Communication Committee has expanded to 16 active members. They're made up of a mix of council members and residents. The committee remains committed to creation and distribution of new neighbor welcome packs, as well as the ongoing ATC high school internship program. All right, over the past 3 months, we have identified the following as our potential new projects. I have descriptions, but I'm just going to give you the titles. A website subcommittee, a communication task force, an unhoused outreach initiative, and a media production initiative that we are kind of joining forces with area high schools and using those students as well as professionals in our community. I've got more, but basically if you have any questions, council members, ask me or join the committee. And to residents, the committee is always welcoming volunteers to do any of these projects and create new ones with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. Nick is doing so much, I can't keep up with what he's doing. It makes one. So, okay, we're going to move on to the Education Committee. Victoria Knapp.
Let's see, after attending another successful meeting at Elliott regarding the one school, two campus and middle school arts conservatory model, I submitted public comment to the January 26th PUSD school board meeting in favor of the school's plans after being awarded a $5 million federal magnet grant. And while, Judy mentioned this early, while we have some significant weather forecast for the end of this week, the Elliott Arts Annual Fund is moving ahead with the Twilight Tower Tour, which is a tour all the way from the main office of the school to the top of the tower, which is generally not open to the public. It does require a number of staircases be ascended, and there are 2 ladders. I think it's like 50-something odd ladder rungs you need to get up to the top. That is on Friday, the 24th, from 4 to 6 p.m. Tickets are still available and can be purchased at posd.us/Elliott. And in an effort to build this community, a survey was posted to social media and distributed to email distribution lists for those interested in joining. I welcome those interested in supporting the public schools that serve Altadenas to contact me directly. You can find my information on the AltadenaTownCouncil.org website. That's it for me.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, we're going to move on to our general public comment, and we are going to have to limit the public comment because we have over 21 comment cards. So we're going to start with you.
Okay, so how many people here are here for public comment? Can I just get a raise of hands?
Everybody.
Okay, so it looks like we're about probably 20 people. Okay, so we're going to, we have to be out of this building by 9:30. So that limits us to 1 minute per person in order to allow everyone who wants to speak. So we're going to ask you to keep yourselves to the 1 minute. I'm going to move quickly, but at the very first, I'm going to call up, we have groups for Nuccios, traffic safety, and for the deputy involved shooting. And so I will call you up in groups so that you guys can align at the podium. But first, we have David Massey. Hi.
Thank you for waiting around.
No problem. 1 minute. I'm with ACE, Altadena Community Enrichment. It's a program under by the Altadena Seventh-day Adventist Church, and what we do outreach. And we've been involved in the community for a little while. We've been doing food distribution. We did COVID testing, and we do year-end financial programs. We did a job fair. But I'm here today to tell you that we want to start a alcohol and drug rehabilitation service center. And we're willing to utilize our facilities. We have a gymnasium, we have offices, and we just need a partnership. So that's why I'm here, to let you know that we have a proposal, and we'd like to continue our outreach to the community in Altadena with this drug and rehabilitation, alcohol and drug rehabilitation center. 10 seconds.
501c.
Yes, and we're 501c. So we're looking for partnerships, and thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you for
Thank you so
hanging
much,
around.
and thank you for waiting.
Sorry for the rush.
Yeah.
Okay, Dorothy, are you
just looking for Denise Doss?
Is Denise still here? Okay, so you have her, you can follow with her directly?
Thank you.
Okay. So we're going to move next to the deputy involved shooting. I'm going to call up in no particular order if you want to just come and line up at the podium. I've got Sarah Eggers, Patrice and Maddie Briggs, and is it as yes. Quincy Earl.
Anybody who is here to speak on the deputy involved shooting, please line up to speak.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Maddie Briggs and my husband Patrick. I want to begin by saying I'm a member of All Saints Church, Episcopal Church in Pasadena. I'm also a resident of Pasadena. I'm here because this affects all of us. Also, as a side note, Mr. Malone, you'll be interested to know that Altadena has been conducting a homeless count for the last handful of years, and you do have homeless. You can find that information at laalmanac.com.
I've been part of the count for several years.
Okay, I reclaim my time. So to the matter at hand, though, I want to thank the council for its statement. We also stand in solidarity with the family of Charles Towns. It's a very disturbing video. I think if anyone has seen it and they couldn't feel otherwise. The number of shots fired, the pauses between. You can draw your own conclusions. The bottom line is police violence against African Americans in our community must stop. This should not have happened. The incident should have been de-escalated. Regardless of DOJ investigation, there must be accountability for police misconduct. Finally, real accountability and reform is the only way to begin to end the institutional racism entrenched in the foundations of this country and the policing of our communities.
If you have
Thank you.
that written, I'll take a copy of it if you have it written down?
I'll clean it up.
We'll send it,
Okay,
yeah.
we'll send it to
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Okay.
so much.
Next,
Come on up. Just give us your name.
Karen Johnson and my daughter Frances Martin.
in the microphone. Oh,
Thank you,
he's going to
Karen.
help you.
Hi, and I was just wondering the protocols that they, well, not even the protocols, the film that they showed on the TV was narrated. Why wouldn't they show the exact footage from the body cams? And why wasn't all the body cams present at that time?
Why weren't they all turned on?
Yes.
Okay. We can't comment on it. It's not what we do, but we do have your questions and,
And we can follow up.
yeah, follow up with answers or try and find answers.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you
How
for
long
coming.
does it take to follow up?
I don't know, but as soon as we can.
It's still out there. You can go ask him directly.
They didn't know nothing.
Well, he's the guy.
Yeah, that's where.
We asked them questions when they allowed us. They
Yeah,
didn't
we
know
don't,
nothing.
we don't
Yeah,
respond.
that's where we get our answers from.
Yeah, we don't respond to public.
Well, good luck.
Okay. Thank you. Next.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lorenzo, Altadena community member for 23 years. First and foremost, rest in power to Charles Robert Towns. I'm calling on the Altadena community to donate to his memorial fund on GoFundMe. The goal is $20,000, and it's currently only at $3,000, right? I'm also asking that our council members show up for the community and do your part as well by donating individually. If you look up his name on the GoFundMe, it'll come up. What else? The demands for Black Lives Matter with respect to Charlestown's murder are to release the body cam footage of all officers involved, release the names of all officers involved in fire and arrest and charge all of them, release the restraining order on the autopsy report. I understand that some of you might not have jurisdiction over this, but pushing for this and advocating for this is what we need y'all to do. We're asking for y'all to put pressure on Sheriff Robert Luna, and I also understand that a lot of this is outside of your jurisdiction, but just asking y'all to go above and out of that, right? And to care for this on a personal matter. We have a lot of great Black orgs in Pasadena doing great community work. Some of them are here tonight. My Tribe Rise, Black Lives Matter Pasadena, Pasadena Black Equity Project, and we need y'all to center their needs in this. I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lorenzo.
We demand justice for Charles Towns. We want to name and fire the deputies involved. Release complete unedited video. This is unacceptable that they have body cameras and they just turn them on. This was the problem we had again. I mean, at the beginning with body cameras, if you can just turn it on or drop it. And we stand in solidarity with the family. Sir, I took public transportation here. Altadena has unhoused people. It was so cold. Look how many layers. Because I knew I was gonna run into some freezing, unhoused person. There's a coat on my chair. Sir, that's really sad. Do I look like someone who would normally bring 5 coats, but I took public transportation to a meeting at 7 p.m. in your community?
Okay, we're not going to attack anyone. Thank you. Okay, next. Next.
And please state your name at the beginning so we know.
Sure.
Hi, my name's Consuelo Alegría, and I'm here in support of the family and my condolences for Charlestown's family. And along with the family, we request I'm also a member of Black Lives Matter Los Angeles, the full release of all videos, all unedited videos, unnarrated videos, as well as the firing. I believe the names have been released of the officers, but also the firing of the officers. Understanding this is all in the Department of Justice now, but nonetheless, accountability is required. And thank you, everyone, for showing up and speaking on this, because this epidemic, this plague that we deal with as Black, brown, unhoused, disabled, trans, and other marginalized people in this country, on top of everything else that we're dealing with, there's also the plague of badged executioners that is going on in our country and in this state and in this city in particular, or in the city of Los Angeles, and it has to stop. It's unacceptable. So at some point, we each have to take accountability for what's happening and stop this execution that's going on and lack of accountability.
Thank you. Diane, I got this. I got it. Next.
Hi, my name is Stephanie Blank. I'm a member of Surge Altadena, showing up for racial justice. And I'm deeply troubled by the way the Altadena sheriffs handled the response to Charles Towns. Responding to an incident like this should have de-escalated instead of escalated the situation. A response with lethal force to a man with scissors is beyond an abuse of power and excessive. I've lived in Altadena for 18 years, and I try not to contact the sheriffs for something happening in my neighborhood for exactly this reason. I fear their response will escalate a situation and cause harm when there's no need for harm. We're demanding an unarmed response from trained mental health professionals and trained in crisis de-escalation. We're demanding the officers involved in this shooting be named and fired, and we're demanding accountability for the murder of a man who was not armed after being fired upon and crawling on the ground in survival mode after wielding a scissors.
Thank you. Okay. Next. Please move up quickly to the mic. Please, next. Move up quickly, because we're going to run out of time.
Hello, my name is Sarah Eggers. I live in Pasadena, and I'm also a member of Pasadena Altadena Surge, and I'm a mental health professional as well. And I don't like to watch these videos, so many videos that we have now of Black men being killed unnecessarily by people who are supposed to protect us. But I did watch, and what I saw was a man having a mental health crisis who, rather than getting the help that he needed, was shot when he was, by multiple officers when he was already on the ground and no longer a danger to anyone. It's shocking, and I don't think that, if that's protocol, that if they followed protocol, then we have some really big questions to be asking ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Hi, my name is Kate McInerney. I'm from Pasadena, but I consider Altadena to be part of the same community. I'm here to echo the calls from community members to release all of the info and fire the deputies involved in this shooting, and I hope that you all echo these demands given your position of power. It's way beyond time that we show up for Black community members and prevent this terror and violence from happening. Thank you.
Okay, next.
Before I start my time, the next individual who'll be coming up after me is the brother of Charles Towns. So I would ask this council to give him additional time to speak
This
with
is
y'all.
part of your time, you know that, right? So
Cool.
you need to start talking.
Cool. I would hope that our relationship with this city council is not adversarial, and that you will join us in our demands, that you will release the video, and you will release the information on the officers, and you will fire these sheriffs that did this to Anthony Towns. They not only put Anthony Towns' life in danger, but several other people's life in danger because of the way that they handled this. So Charles Towns, right, was murdered because they shot recklessly. They endangered one of their own officers, and because of how they handled it, another person was able to be harmed in the incident. This was a reckless attempt by the sheriffs. Join us in our demands. We are using our power to speak to you. We want you to use whatever power you have to make sure that these officers are held accountable for what their actions caused.
Thank you. Next.
How you doing? I'm Skahafi Earl. I'm one of Charlie Roberts Towns' brothers. Thank you guys for coming out and standing with myself and the family and coming and speaking you guys' words to the town council. I'm just tired of watching people die at the senseless hands of law enforcement. And I'm just holding each and every one of you guys sitting around at this table accountable for what happens here in your township. You guys can hide behind the sheriff department, DOJ, but you guys are the voice behind Altadena. You guys make decisions. You guys send decisions to Ms. Barger. You guys need proper mental health specialists here in you guys' streets. You need proper tactics and need more decision makings on what's happening in the Altadena Sheriff Department. You guys hire them, y'all contract them, you guys pay them. So in my mind, I just feel like you guys need to stand up and utilize y'all words and you guys' transgressions on what you guys to do to make sure that the right thing is done in the case for my brother. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Hello, Altadena Town Council and community. My name is Heavenly Hughes, co-founder of My Tribe Rise. We focus on public safety, food and housing insecurities, and how we need to get solutions to end gun violence. What we're talking about tonight is gun violence. And we want to put a stop to police violence, put a stop to police being reckless in our community. I'm thankful that the Altadena Town Council is doing its best to get in front of this right away so that we won't continue to see these types of incidents happen in our community. Our condolences to the family of Charlestown and to the community of Charlestown who are suffering from seeing such a horrible incident of a officer-involved fatal shooting of Charlestown's. Everything's already been said, so I don't know if I need to repeat everything that's been said. We want Supervisor Barger to be notified of what's happening in Altadena. We want Supervisor to know that we want to end to police violence. We want Supervisor Barger to know that we want the police to be held accountable for recklessness in our community. We want the police to also I was just told tonight by Captain Jabari that there's not dash cams.
Okay.
There's not dash cams on police vehicles here. I think that is very important.
Heavenly.
That dash cams be, I just want this to be sent to Supervisor Barker, these.
It's recorded and she knows.
Does she know that there's not dash cams on the police vehicles here in Altadena?
I'm sure she's aware of a lot of.
Because that's how we're missing a lot of what happened.
Okay,
with
we're going to
Charles
end
Towns.
it now because we gave
Did I get my
everybody
whole
else
60
1 minute.
seconds?
Yes, you did. Right?
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been about almost 2 minutes. So yes. But, and it's not that I'm being rude. I want to let you guys know. But we do have, okay. Okay, I can't dismiss how you feel about me. I can tell you that I run this meeting, and this is a meeting that I run.
It should be ran by the community.
And we have a tight schedule, and we have lots of things that we have to get out. And we have to go home tonight and get out of this building.
This is Black History
Okay,
Month.
so
and I
the
just
meeting, can I have a
I'm gonna
motion
go ahead
to
and
adjourn?
wrap my statement up. I'm gonna wrap my statement up now. You started
Okay,
off saying that
you can wrap it up.
The ongoing struggle of the Black community. This is the ongoing struggle of us being shot and killed in the streets. I know before that Black people were lynched in the streets, even right here in Pasadena and Altadena, and it was a public viewing. So we don't, now this is also a public viewing. Everybody is seeing what
Okay,
happened to Charlestown.
Heavenly,
And I'm
I
wrapping
gave
it
you
up by
extra
saying,
time, and I'm not going to go back and forth with you.
Thank you so
I
much,
need,
Veronica, for your
a
time.
motion to
Thank you,
adjourn.
Altadena Town Council, for hearing us.
Oh, we
really
have more
appreciate it.
public comment. Thank you. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay. Okay, go ahead. I'm
Okay.
trying to-
Can I have Tom Riley and Neil Turner? Are you still here? Tom and Neil? Are you Tom or Neil?
I'm Neil.
You're Neil. Thanks,
Come up
Neil.
to the microphone.
Okay. I support what was said earlier, but I'd like to address another issue that also affects people in Altadena, which is roadway safety. So there's something that my wife made showing the experience of many people, especially in West Altadena, who have kids, who have pets. They're forced to walk on the roadway.
Can we see it this way?
Sorry. So here's the picture. And so being forced to walk on the roadway means that some of the speeding drivers that we heard about earlier, thank you, are more likely to strike people. And so I'd just like to say this is an issue that we should address. There should be sidewalks throughout, and that is possible because there are unpaved sidewalks throughout Altadena. and I'll be happy to send some material that I have to the council about how that those unpaved sidewalks could be realised again and made passable for people in the community. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Tom's gone. Okay, and then we have Joyce Tippern and Bob and Lee Williams. No longer here. Okay, that was on Nuccio's, which we talked about earlier. So Chair, I believe that wraps up. Did I miss anybody who submitted a comment card? No, okay. So that wraps up public comment.
Okay, thank you. I want to thank everybody before we call for adjournment. And I just want to say that we here on the council know that Black Lives Matter. We know, and we do know right from wrong. So I don't want anybody to walk out of here to think any otherwise at all. We know, and we know how to deal with the county and to get information, and we will be on top of it, you know, and so that's my say. That's my say. I have 2 sons, I have a husband, and 4 brothers. So it's important to me, and I don't want anybody to think it's not important. And the gentleman tonight that had the 501c, their whole goal is to get things in our community so before they get to the police, they have a family has a place to go to when they have a family member or somebody in crisis. And so that 501c, those kinds of things that we really need in our Black community. It's kind of late once somebody dies. Something has to be done before they die. People have to come forth with options and ways to prevent it, not after it's done. But that's my speech for tonight. Can I have adjournment? Second? Is there a second?
Somebody second.
Okay. The meeting is now adjourned. It is 9:19. Thank you.